All right, I'm Michael Hartzman. Today is February 18th, 2025, and I'm on as always with my partner Dominic Tavella. How are you, Dom?
Doing very well, Mike. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
Everything's good. You were smart enough to get out of Long Island in the Northeast. It's another freezing day on Long Island, Dom. That's the bad news. The good news is Saturday they were predicting for this Thursday 16 inches of snow. And now apparently that storm has moved out to sea. Nothing to see here. We're not going to get any snow on Thursday. So I'm happy for that. Small world,
Listen,
though.
we still have plenty of office workers and family and friends and kids and grandkids in the tri-state area. So yeah, we don't want to see that. Even if I'm not there myself, Mike, there's nothing about that that's good. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. It's been a kind of a rough winter already. So I'd be kind of happy to see it come to an end. The sooner the better.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely done with winter. There's no doubt about that. So, here we are already halfway through the first quarter, right? 6 weeks into the first quarter. Let's just do a typical update and we'll bounce off of that. So last week the S&P was up 1.5. The Dow was up two-thirds of a percentage point, and NASDAQ was the winner, up 2.6%. And I think we have to start including the European markets, which have been making some noise this year. That was also up 2.6%. So year to date, Dom, 6 weeks into 2025, the S&P is up a little bit more than four. The Dow is up a little less than five. The NASDAQ, believe it or not, is a laggard this year, up 3.76%, not bad. And the European markets, which we touched on 2 weeks ago, is actually up 8.32%. So not bad considering all of the headline risk, all the volatility, all of the uncertainty coming out of Washington. I think anyone would have signed up for black and positive results across all the major sectors year to date.
And look, let's start with, I'm going to use a round number of 4%. You can't do 2% a month, 24% a year. I mean, those numbers are just unsustainable. Sorry to put the first pin in the balloon. Part of that, I think, Mike, is a little bit of a relief. I hate to call it a relief rally. But there was a lot of doom and gloom about the tariffs and how it was going to affect the global economy. And at least for now, and we're very early in this. I should underline it three times. We're very early in this tariff discussion, but at least for now, they have not seemed anywhere near as horrific, at least as it was implied that they would be. And then the flip side of that, Mike, is earnings. We're halfway through earnings season. Corporate America has been a daily basis announcing what and how they're doing. And for the most part, Mike, for the most part, the numbers have been really, really good. I think earnings growth is some plus or minus around 15%. And I think most of the major firms would have predicted half that number. So we've had really good earnings. And maybe the horrific stuff, the headline risk, just at least for now, hasn't been so bad.
And I also, excuse me, I agree with you. And I also think that the market's unhealthy relationship with interest rates is kind of abating a little bit. And what I mean by that is I think the market for years now has been so hyper fixated on low interest rates now. We need them now. And the Fed said in December, slow down. We're going to put interest rate cuts on hold. And the market, for the most part, Dom, has accepted that reality because they realize that, we could have interest rates at this level. It's not great, but inflation is worse. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. That's a terrific point. So, clearly the markets, the economy wants lower interest rates. Lower interest rates makes economic activity easier, whether it's getting a mortgage, a car loan, credit card financing, so on and so on. But it's been a bitter pill for the markets to swallow that the Fed may not quite be this anxious to lower interest rates as long as inflation stays relatively high compared to their target, right? So I think you hit the nail right on the head, Mike. The market seems to be digesting this news that, hey, you know what? Interest rates will probably be lower throughout this year, later on in the year, but maybe not quite at the pace that the markets were anticipating. And I think a lot of that is exactly right, Mike. The markets have been more accepting that, hey, interest rates are just going to inevitably, but going to stay a little bit higher for a little bit longer. But it's all good because the economy keeps churning along, keeps moving up.
And we, so we've been talking now for about 5 minutes, and we haven't brought up tariffs. So, I think you kind of went around the edges, but you've been saying it for a while. Trump carries a big stick, and the hope was he wouldn't use it. He threatens to use it on a daily basis. And I think the market also is getting used to that turmoil and trying to, you know, take what he says, not necessarily literally, but take it to the point where, well, if he has to, he will, but hopefully he doesn't get pushed to that, point of no return.
Yeah, again, Mike, you bring up a really valid point here. And, look, it wasn't just what was it, like a couple of weeks ago? It seems like eternity, but, we're going to do 25% tariffs on Canada and 25% tariffs on Mexico and Europe and China. And, it was just very, very, from an economic perspective, doom and gloom. We have some pretty aggressive reactions by some of our friends and enemies alike about where tariffs were going to go. And at least for now, and we talked about this a lot, Mike. It seems at least Trump is carrying a big stick, but not necessarily willing to hit these other countries over the head just yet. And I think the market is part of the relief rally, both in the U.S. and I think part of why global stocks, just in general, have done actually pretty well. As you brought up, Mike, the global stocks have really outperformed domestic stocks. And that's shocking when you think about how bad the tariff scenario could be to these foreign economies. Having said that, again, for now, its status quo is not so bad. I think the markets are looking at it that way, and it could change on a dime. And if it does, you can expect these markets are going to change on a dime.
And as we get, now, firmly into Trump 2.0, we've seen the movie before where headline risk is literally daily, right? It's daily. And headline risk is every single day. And if you don't like the headline, shut the TV off and let's look at the headline tomorrow. Um, because I do think, Dom, that there are risks out there, both real and imagined, that we're not done dealing with by a long shot.
We kind of sometimes repeat ourselves, and I apologize to our listeners about that. But if you're not looking at the horizon and looking at the risks, then you're just not paying attention. And so you are absolutely right, Mike. There are real risks out there, and including will inflation go lower, as some people fully expect by year end? Will interest rates be lower? Will the economy keep growing? Will the consumer keep spending? And again, the dreaded tariff word, will and how much will the Trump administration impose? So there are real risks out there. But I'll take the other side of that conversation, Mike. And if you followed some of the bobbleheads on TV, you wouldn't have invested anything in these markets this year. You'd be 100% in cash, as some people out there propose. Go 100% money market and wait it out and see this horrific picture of what the Trump administration is going to do. And you would have missed out at least year to date on some really, really respectable returns in your portfolio. So again, headline risk, pay attention, but don't lose sleep over it, at least not for now.
No, and it's our job, right, to separate the headline risk from real risk. I think we've gotten pretty good at that.
As I love to tell clients, and you've heard this 1,000 times, we lose sleep over it. We genuinely do. We pay attention. We worry about it, and we try to be proactive about that. So try, if it's the client, try not to lose sleep over it. And we get compliments all the time about our from our clients. Say, I don't worry about it because you guys are worrying about it. So yeah, that's our job, Mike. Our job is to worry and to look at the horizon. And if we have to bob and weave, we will.
So let's switch gears and let's talk about our show tonight. We're speaking of switching gears, we are switching gears kind of completely tonight. We have a really cool guest, the Reverend John Lee Hooker Jr., whose father happens to be the legendary blues singer and composer John Lee Hooker, known for songs Boogie Chillin', I'm in the Mood, and Boom Boom. Everyone knows the song Boom Boom. And John's written a book, From the Shadows of the Blues. He stayed up late tonight for us. He's actually in Germany. It's 10 after 11 p.m. And he's going to be our guest this evening, talking about his dad, talking about his own journey, and talking about what his life is like now as a blues and gospel singer himself and as a reverend.
Yeah, this is totally away from what we normally talk about, but fun. I think it's just a fascinating story, and John Jr. is a fantastic gentleman himself with a really colorful past. So this will be fun tonight.
Anytime I could use the expression boogie chillin', it's a good night.
You certainly got a laugh out of me, and I imagine a few other people listening.
So we will be right back with the Reverend John Lee Hooker Jr. All right, I'm Michael Hartzman, back with my partner Dominic Tavella and our very special guest tonight, the Reverend John Lee Hooker Jr., son of the legendary blues singer and composer John Lee Hooker. John, welcome to our show. Welcome to the Lebenthal Report. Thanks for staying up late tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's sacrifices are great when you're trying to help those who are in a position and don't know how to get out. So that's my sacrifice.
I
Mhm.
appreciate that. So let's just start. That's a perfect place to start. Let's start with the title of the book. It kind of has a double meaning, as you said, from the shadow of the blues, my story of music addiction and redemption. So, what a great title. I'm glad you got the redemption part in there. Congratulations. So, what's the genesis of the book, sir?
Well, the genesis of the book is it begins. I like the way the my co-writer began the opening statement of the book, and she mentions a very traumatic part of my life. Traumatic, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I was shot twice and stabbed and cut in the face and thrown out of cars and over, that was traumatic. But the way begins the book is in the infamous Soledad prison where Sirhan had assassinated our Robert Kennedy, and then you had the the Black Guerrilla family, the Soledad brothers. And so the infamous Soledad prison is where it starts off. And of course, my dad had a gig at the Soledad prison and asked me to come along and open up be his feature attraction. What's ironic about it is I had just I was just released from prison in Michigan, and now I am asked to go back into a prison as my gig. My gig out to be, turns into be rather, my residence, and again, the opening of the book, and then after the gig, the residence, and then it turned into my pulpit. So it's a very wonderful book. It tells people how they can get out of their destructive behavior, their destructive cloud that's over their head. And that's the title of my book, From the Shadow of the Blues. And trust me, it was a shadow that I wouldn't wish upon my enemies.
So, John, why don't we take a few minutes for our listeners? Just give us a quick background on your dad, and then how you got into music, and how you evolved through that whole process.
Right, sure. My dad is known all over the world. I He needs no introduction, but he was he's always been just a regular guy. He didn't have this narcissistic attitude. He took care of his family. He woke us up at 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure with barbecue and coleslaw and corn, and made sure that we were fed. We were all awakened if we were taking naps as children because of the loud music in the basement of the house in Detroit. Things start to be recognized about his craft in music because we start seeing people with long hair and funny British accents and people coming on our front porch with news cameras and going to radio stations and as a child, you thought this was wow, this is really amazing. And then when he would babysit me, he would take me to the nightclubs, to the Apex bar, and I would be backstage, but and don't come back, don't come out here. And I can see him through the curtains. Sometime if I'm in another place, I could see him through the door, but I saw a lot of people laughing and smiling and dancing, and it just grew on me. And every child, whether they have a mother or father that is successful, wow, I want to be like my mom, or I want to be like my dad. Well, that was the case with me. I had my bumps in the road. I had my falling into the ditches and finally getting myself on my feet. I was taught by him how to treat people. I was taught even more how to treat people in the Bible, but he taught me how to to make deals and how not to make deals, and because he had been cheated on a lots in his career, and don't treat people no matter how they dress, how they look, who they're with, who they love, and you're not to. Only time you should be looking down on somebody is when you're picking them up. And my career took off. Of course, you as you mentioned, I was nominated twice for a Grammy, Lifetime Achievement Award. So very successful music career. And when I look back at the Albert Kings and the Big Mama Thorntons and the James Cottons and the Jimmy Reeds and then look at my own career, and I would say, look at their career and say, what a pity, all the hard work that they did. They didn't achieve really anything except some legacy and some and musicians remembering them. But as far as finance that you guys are talking about, they never received their dues, especially Albert King, never received their dues. And here I was receiving two Grammy nominees. These guys, I mean, and Bobby Bland, what a great talent. He had never achieved what he put out. And I was taught to never have my head get so big with my celebrity because you're going to fall. And I lived by that. I live by that now. Just because I was John, the son of John Lee Hooker, didn't mean that everything that glittered was gold, and the apples that shine real beautiful and were attractive didn't mean that there was a worm inside, because there was. I was the apple that fell not too far from the tree, the apple tree, but I actually rolled down the hill in the valley. But here I am talking to the Lebenthal, you wonderful gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
And that's a blessing for us as well. Mike?
We're happy to have you. And I just want to ask you one other question about your dad. I don't think a lot of people remember that your dad was in a legendary film in the 80s where I guess he performed one of his most famous songs. Was that something that he had to get? And I'm talking about the Blues Brothers. I apologize.
I know. Yeah, 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 yeah.
No, no, I know you know.
You're apologizing to the audience.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no, no, I know you know. But John, did he do that willingly? Did he have any idea that the Blues Brothers would become a cult hit? What was his reaction years and decades later when the Blues Brothers remained so popular and that song remained so popular?
and that's a great question, because it was like water rolling off of a duck's back. It didn't blow his head up. He was just ready for the part. It was like when the Rolling Stones and Eric Clapton, the groups, called him to perform on television. He didn't say, "Oh my God," but if you read the quote in the book about what Keith Richards said about my dad, and that's the attitude that he describes my dad's attitude: nonchalant, no big deal. Let's just go to work. And that's who he was. Let's just go to work. And oh my goodness, I won a Grammy, and he no big deal. Just he worked hard. He worked hard through the discrimination. He worked hard through the Jim Crow era. He worked and he worked. He didn't blame anybody. He took it like a champ, and that's why I believe God took him where he was, to the apex of his career. After being cheated because he was illiterate, uh, God still elevated him, and we're thankful that we were there to watch his journey. Mhm.
So, John, I just want to switch gears to you now. So, just starting with, and we witness it in our practices. We have very successful clients. Often their children come in to the business, and sometimes children struggle to keep up with the parent. Could be mom or dad, and then find their own path. So, how did you find your own path? And obviously, you've been very successful. But talk to us a little bit about your path.
Well, like I said, I was level with the dirt. I was the crust in the garbage can. I was the crust under the garbage can. But I was taught to to just to be savvy and to save, be like the ant who collected his food in one season and hibernated or whatever he did, and then when it was time to come out of his hiding place or his hibernation, he was able to eat because he saved, and that's what I was taught. Is to save every penny. I used to have a piggy bank. I used to have money under my mattress. I put money in my socks. Uh, uh, I saved money, and I still do today. So I am one that, and I tell my siblings the same thing. Don't squander. It was a thing that I taught my son. I don't think he learned it, but you don't spend your old money until you see a forecast where the new money is going to replace what you spent. And that's where I am today.
Well, that's that you call yourself not a financial expert, but that sounds like pretty damn good financial advice, if
Yeah,
you ask
yeah,
me.
yeah. And yeah, and that's what I do today. That's what I do. I live by that rule. I live by that rule, and I've done pretty good. Thank God.
Yeah, that's the advice of an old soul right there, John. So now you're a reverend and you're living in Germany. So tell us about that. When did you become a reverend? And then part two of that is how did you wind up in Germany?
Yeah, that's a great question again.
Thank you.
Because when the Almighty God turned my life around and told me that you are going back to the same things that, yeah, you look good, and you're getting all these nominations, you're walking the red carpet, but there's still that same vomit that made you sick. You keep going back to it. You keep going back to it. And I actually was ordained as a minister by the Church of God in Christ Incorporated, and I failed not only one time, two times, three times, but actually three, maybe four times. I just kept falling on my face until one day I just gave it all up, and I asked God to take the taste of the nightlife that caused my fall, that caused my life of destruction, to take the taste out of my mouth. And one day I told my band, I says, well, and my ex-wife, that I'm going back to the church. I'm going back into the ministry, and I'm getting rid of this here, and I'm not going to do this no more. Well, one ended up in a divorce. My wife said, well, I can't. It was culture shock to her. I totally understood it. We're still friends today. And fast forward, I met this wonderful friend, this wonderful woman during my tour in Germany, and we just was friends. That's all we were. We're friends. Every year I would come to some part of Germany, near North Germany, and her and her family would come to see me, and life went on. I got divorced and she got divorced, and then we didn't hear anything for 8 years, because now I'm in the ministry and I'm not traveling. I told my agency I'm not doing nightclubs no more, and if I do them, then it's going to be I'm not going to be singing, "Hey, everybody, let the good time roll," and all of that. I'm going to sing about my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So we met back on Facebook, recognized her name, and we kept in touch and came over here, and I came over, she came over there. We fell in love, and here I am.
So, how long have you been living in Germany, John?
3 years now. 3 years now. We've been married 5 years, and the 2 years or the 15 months was because of the coronavirus. And that's when I wasn't able to get back on the airplane. Yeah. But
So,
I'm
John,
happy over here.
I spent
So
quite a
happy.
bit of time in Europe myself. There is a certain element of culture shock.
Yeah.
How was it for you adapting? And
Well, initially it was difficult, but I wasn't saying, did I make the wrong mistake? I did. I wasn't in that state of mind. I just knew from my roots, don't ever give up when they say you're one, two, three, you're out. My song, I was nominated for a Grammy for CD, All Odds Against Me, and the odds were against me. He'll be back. He can't do it. You're going to be this. You're never going to be nothing, and da da. But I made it. I'm here, and I love it. I preach in churches, and I go to German prisons, women's and men's prisons, and I speak a little German. And if I don't know all of it, I'll have it on a script, a piece of paper, and just follow my outline. And it's wonderful. I am enjoying myself. I'm doing exactly what I did in America. I visited prisons in America and telling people my story that you don't have to stay in the dirt. You don't have to stay in the dirt. There's a way out of it. And all you have to do is ask God to take you out. And because he did it to me.
John, you told us a great anecdotal story, how you are living your beliefs right now. Your father wrote a song, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer, which I think a lot of the younger audience would give George Thorogood that credit. And you put your own spin on that. You put your own spin on that
Yeah.
super famous song. So tell us what you did there.
I when I when I went to prison and I got out, San Quentin, and the judge had a clause in my parole conditions were to attend uh, drug rehabilitation meetings, and that's what I did until I got off parole. Going to the meetings. Hi, my name is Johnny, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, my name is John, and I am a alcoholic, and I added that to the song. And when I got clean and sober, and doing few of my dad's covers, people said, "Hey, can you say one bourbon?" I just wrote it all over. One Coke, one Sprite, and root beer. So yeah, it was fun.
How did the audience react to your cleaner version of that classic hit?
Oh, wait, they love it, but they don't allow me to. No, let me put it. They won't sing one Coke, one Sprite. They always say, and one beer. They don't let that go over. And I make a joke out of it. What do you mean one beer? So yeah.
So John, this is a good spot to take a quick break. And we'll come back and talk to you a little bit more about your book and your journey. So let's take a break now, and we'll be back with the Reverend John Lee Hooker Jr., son of John Lee Hooker and the author of From the Shadows of the Blues, My Story of Music Addiction and Redemption. All right, I'm Michael Hartzman, back with my partner Dominic Tavella and our special guest this evening, John Lee Hooker Jr., author of From the Shadows of the Blues, My Story of Music, Addiction, and Redemption. So, John, here's the most important question of all. How do we buy your book?
Great question. Uh, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Book a Million. Uh, Go to my website if you can't remember what I said, www.donleehookerjr.com. Go to my store and you'll see the picture of the book. Click on the book, and all of those bookstores or book sales distributors will be right there. You don't send it to me, you'll send it to an order from those distributors. Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
the
yes.
and the book is available now?
Pardon?
And the book is available, it's out
The book
now.
is available even if you're living here in Europe. The book is being sold through Thalia, and you can find out how. You can also go to my website, and you that live in Europe, you can click on Thalia, you'll see it, and you can order the book on the other side of the world as well. And if you want a book signed like Dominique and Michael, go to my inbox. Hey, John, send me some while we still have copies, and we'll sign it and send it to you.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you, John. I very much appreciate it. So we have a few minutes left, and again, I find this story just incredibly inspirational. But the part of that is the music is so wonderful, so inspirational. So I have to kind of laugh out loud because Germany is actually known for its jazz blues clubs. Do you find yourself enjoying the atmosphere there? How often do you play there?
Play where?
There in Germany.
Oh, I do small events. I do mostly churches. I don't no longer do nightclubs and bars. Uh, I was an alcoholic. I was a drug addict for 30 something years, and it doesn't tempt me. I don't go in and shake and no, that doesn't happen. But I don't tempt God. I don't tempt him. You remember when the devil told Jesus, hey, jump off the mountain. It is written that God will send his angels, and Jesus said, it is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. So I don't tempt God. I don't go in and say, I am super Christian. I just stay away. Uh, and I've been doing okay, staying away.
Good for
I'll
you.
do festivals. I did festivals. I opened for the Rolling Stones, as you'll see in the book. I opened for the Rolling Stones, and I sung gospel. I prayed for Keith Richards in the dressing room, and he says, "You know what, Junior? I think that I do need some prayer." And I prayed for him, and I love what I do. I love singing about my Lord. I love helping people, going into prisons and homeless shelters and helping people get back on their feet.
John, you very much, and Dominic, you can relate to this. You very much remind me of an athlete here in America who's also turned his life around and turned his life over to the Lord, and he's a reverend along with his wife. You kind of remind me of Darryl Strawberry's story,
Okay.
who is also now doing God's work, similar to you.
Baseball man.
Yeah.
Baseball
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of personally and the firm, and he's got a
Wow.
similar, very inspirational story. And listen, again, not that I know firsthand, but certainly from other people that are involved, it's a difficult path to stay
Mm.
on, right? It's a challenging path. Let me rephrase that. You're challenged every day to stay on that path. So I can't imagine it's easy, but God bless that you've been able to do it and then continue to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's um and I hear voices. I tell my wife, I hear voices every day. You can get away with this. You can get, look how long you've been, 30 years, almost 30 years clean. You can get away. Nobody will ever suspect you. But I think I'm happy for the voices that I hear, the recommendations, the suggestions, the deceptive voices, because they keep me on my toes, keep me on my toes. And it's not, I'm not going to tell you that, oh, I'm almost on the verge, because it has become so easy. You know why it's easy? Because I can look back and see all of the people I made cry. My mother, my father, my sisters, my son visited me in San Quentin. Dad, when you coming home? I can think about crying in San Quentin under the covers at 2 in the morning, crying. What has my life come through? I've been in the hospitals and shot and stabbed, and all God has to do is point when the devil or somebody in my head tells me to do this. God just opened up the curtain. Remember that? Ah, and you never want to go back. Never want to go back. Never want to go back. I will never go back by the power of God. Yeah.
So you mentioned your dad, and I wasn't going to bring him up again, but he passed away in 2001. So you've been clean 30 years. So you must be very grateful that he also was alive and got to see you turn your life around. That had to be super important to you, I would assume.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. He was. This is the only time he got braggadocious, when he can say, "My son got off of drugs and alcohol, and now and he had a speech impediment. And Reverend Junior, come on in here, boy." He was very happy. He was very happy, and my mom was too. Mhm.
Was your mom a musician as well?
Oh no, no, no! Mom wasn't a musician. She was just a regular gal, and yeah, and. They cha 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 cha, because he's gone and he's gone. I'll be back. He's gone. Yeah.
So, John, just coming back to the music, right? So, are you still writing? You said you mentioned you're playing in some festivals and churches, but are you still writing? Are you thinking about doing an album? Where are you with the
Yeah, I
music?
got a new CD. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to slip one of those into your package. I'm gonna send you. Yeah, I got a new single out, and I'm working right now on a single called Heaven Rules. And it is the story about King Nebuchadnezzar, when God warned him in a dream, quit beating on your chest and bragging, or I'm going to put you in the fields with the beasts, and you're going to stay there for 7 years now. You better quit bragging and give God the glory. And he didn't. He looked out on his palace floor, palace, top of his palaces, says, "Look at Babylon, all of this I have made with my own hand." And that's what you see today, the narcissism orbit of people bragging and popping on their chains and throwing the money into, into the, and so I wrote a song about it. I wrote a song about it, Heaven Rules. And certainly that's what happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. His kingdom was stripped. He slept with the animals for 7 years until he recognized and acknowledged, okay, Lord, you're the ruler.
You put
And
me in
so
my
I wrote a,
place.
yeah. So I wrote that song. It'll be out in May, and it's a video being done. It's got some AI stuff in there, and it's beautiful. I'm going to make sure that you guys get that video when it comes out. I'll make sure I put a note right here that you get it. Somebody else, his name was, I think his Eric. Eric is a podcaster. And he said, when that video come out, send it to me. So I got three of you guys. I'm going to send that video to you. It's beautiful. Wow. Wait till you see it. It's
I
beautiful.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
we appreciate that. You know what's cool to us, John, is that somehow our podcasts are available on iTunes, and here you are, legendary performer. So you have your stuff on iTunes, and we have our stuff on iTunes. I don't know if that seems fair, but both of our podcasts and your music and videos are both available on iTunes somehow.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to send them to you, and feel free to include them with your iTunes. You guys do music as well, or what do you do?
No, we're just, I don't want to
You
say
just
just.
books. You just books.
No, we're financial advisors. We're money managers, and Dom and I started this podcast during the pandemic where we would just get our clients together and try to talk about the market. And a few of our clients said, "Hey, you guys are pretty good at this." So we've been podcasting once a week, I think, for 3.5 years now, and we appreciate when Lissa Warren, your publicist, makes folks like you available, John. It's a treat for us. But no, we're financial advisors. We
And
just
John,
do
we're often
this.
talking about the economy and the stock market and politics, right? But when we can bring an artist on board, an athlete on board, to give us a different perspective
Ah,
about life, right? Because ultimately, we have tons of clients, and we tend to be more counselors on a given day than worrying about what the market does, right, up or down. So life interferes. So we love to have people like yourself on and inspire young people, inspire other people, inspire people that are going through difficult times that you can come to the other side. So very much
yeah.
appreciate you being on with us tonight and hearing your story.
Thank you for having me.
You're from Detroit, and one of the other guests that Lissa got for us a year or two ago was Coach Ray Scott, who was a first round draft pick of the Detroit Pistons and wound up coaching the Detroit Pistons. So we always appreciate, when we could do as Dom said, a human interest story like this, and your journey really has been remarkable. And my hats off to you for truly coming through the other side and doing God's work.
Amen. I'm smiling when you said the Detroit Pistons. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. And in the book, I'm 16 years old and I'm shooting dope in my arms, and I am a crook. I'm a 16-year-old crook. And you know who was my crime partner? They actually gave us the name because we were always together doing crime. We were crime partners. Reginald Harding, look it up, of the Detroit Pistons,
No kidding.
NF, NBA star, and we were crime partners.
Mm.
And he was murdered on Parkview and Mac, uh, not too far from the pool room. Yeah, Detroit Pistons, Reginald Harding.
Oh,
Yeah.
we know, John, that that curse, drugs, has no favors to anybody, right? They don't care
No
where you
discrimination.
come from. They don't care what your religion is. They don't care what the color of your skin is. They just want to put their evil hooks in you and drag you down.
Right. The grave is greedy and death is never satisfied.
John, let's do this one more time. Let's tell our audience how they could give us the title of the book again, and tell us again, where people could purchase your story.
Exactly. You can get that book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, Rowan and Littlefield, or is it Littlefield and Rowan?
I think it's Rowan in Littlefield.
Rowan and Littlefield, or if you can't remember, go to johnleehookerjr.com. Go to the store, you'll see a picture of the book. Click on the book and all of the libraries or bookstores that I just mentioned are right there on that particular page. And if you want it signed like Michael and Dominique, inbox me at my website. And if you want it signed, I only got about three that I will sign because I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to do that to be the one to distribute the books. But if there's three of you out there that wants a book signed, I think I can do five,
I gotcha.
I
but I
love it.
won't
I
do more.
gotcha.
Collector's piece. I love it.
Well, John, I don't want to do Lister's work for her, but are you going to do an Audible book? Because I think listening to your story and your voice would make the book come alive.
If somebody helped me, if somebody shows me how to do it, I heard somebody did the Isley Brothers. No, not the Isley Brothers. I can't
That's a
think of that
brilliant
group's
idea,
name.
Mike. He should do my wife particularly loves audiobooks. And so somebody could be listening to your book and you telling that story, phenomenal. That would be phenomenal.
We'll talk to Lisa about that.
There
All
you
right. Well, we
go.
wish
There
you
you
the best.
go.
Good luck.
Well, John, we are well, it's midnight for you. It's past your bedtime, I'm sure, and we are running out of time, but we had a great time tonight. Thank you
Oh,
so
oh,
much.
yeah. This was I got a star by this here interview. You guys are the investment firm. You are podcast experts.
Thank
I'll,
you.
I'll try not to get my head to grow too large on that one, John. But we do wish you, honest to God, God bless, best of luck, wishes, continued success, and I look forward to getting the book and listening to the music.
Okay, so you're going to send me an email to today or tomorrow. When I see the email, we'll start rolling.
All right,
Looking forward
John.
to it again.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. And we are out of time, everyone. And we'll be
Good
back
night,
next
all.
week with a new edition.